Count on one hand how many times that I've come out here on a Friday, which is normally my off day, but I've come out here on a Friday and had to do a show. Now, this normally means that there's something that's unprecedented or something massive that has happened, and clearly something massive has happened. LSU Athletic Director Scott Woodward is out, which was probably the biggest kept secret and probably the biggest thing that was known to have been going on over the last week. When Jeff Landry came out there and said that he would rather let POTUS decide to pick the next head coach over Scott Woodward, and he verbally went in front of millions and millions of people that would watch him and his statements about what's going on with LSU athletics, you knew. We're going to break down what happened behind closed doors here today. What I know to be factual plus rumors. But you don't have to know the ins and outs and the nitty-gritty and all of the drama that was behind closed doors to know exactly what happened here. You don't. You're an adult and I'm an adult. I would assume that majority of you have lived through a lot of different things in your own world and in your own life. And this is Louisiana, so you know how the gumbo is made. But last night, Scott Woodward and the Board of Supervisors decided mutually, allegedly, to part ways. Ain't nothing mutual about this. The man didn't have any power, and he was lamed up. Was it the right decision? Was it the wrong decision? We will get into that today. Who are some potential candidates that could replace Scott Woodward as athletic director? We'll walk through that as well. Verge Alsbury, along with Scott Ballard, who is the chair of the Board of Supervisors, along with Carmucci, met with the media today. We will touch on that and break all of that down, and I'll give you my thoughts. And here's the truth. Verge Alsbury is the sitting interim athletic director. Great for Verge. Love it for him. I cannot be convinced with everything that's gone down in the last 5 days that when it becomes nut cutting time, that he makes the ultimate decision on contract. He makes the ultimate decision when it comes to the next head coach. And if the contract for your next head coach has any verbiage in it, like Brian Kelly's and or Ed Orgeron's did, the governor's not going to sign off on it. And I think it's time for a lot of people to grow up. You want hope to go on, but listen, you may be here in this show in a month and a half from now, a month from now, and we get the coach that we want. We get the athletic director that we want. There's so many different things that may go on here, and I understand that. But right now, we got to talk about what's actually going on. Can the powers that be actually pull this off? And quite frankly, did a coup just happen right in front of our faces? Did it happen right in front of our faces? Those are the questions that you're going to have to ask yourself and that we're going to have the conversations about here. Nevertheless, we're live. Every AYS Sports Show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. Go over to Android, Apple, iPhone, wherever you are able to download the FD Sportsbook app, place those parlays, place those bets, and we are glad to be partnered with our good friends over at FanDuel because we like to place those futures, those bets, and those parlays. FanDuel Sportsbook is a proud partner and a proud sponsor of AYS Sports, and we are glad and honored to be partnered up with them this football season, which, quite frankly, has completely gone off the rails. But nevertheless, they love chaos. You probably don't love the chaos, but nevertheless, it's chaos. But we're proud partners with our good friends over at FanDuel. We have comments flying in. Where is everybody watching from today? No, I'm not happy. I'm not happy in reference to all of the chaos that continues to ensue. I'm not. Caleb became a member on the YouTube channel. Yes, we did talk in depth about the quarterback position. Football on the field is the last thing that we've talked about all week. on this show. If you want to just get away and actually talk football, we have some members-only content on the YouTube channel. Become a member today, like Caleb just did. But Caleb, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you becoming a member of the YouTube channel. Cody with a $10 super chat says, with Scott Woodward out, how does this affect LSU's coaching search? Will Kim Mulkey retire or leave? Jay Johnson leave for Tennessee? He ain't leaving for Tennessee. With all the politics going on right now, Cody, we'll break all that down. Here's what I tell you. Jay Johnson, you know what? Jay Johnson's not sad, in my humble opinion, about what happened with Scott Woodward. Scott meddled in too many things, and it's about time for people to understand that. I've been coming out here saying this for not just this week, but definitely have said, hey, man, this doesn't feel like a Brian Kelly move. I don't think Scott Woodward made a lot of friends with everybody that's a head coach or a current sitting head coach on LSU's campus. So when it came to nut cutting time and Scott's looking for allies, he didn't have them. He didn't have them. But people in the room could understand where this one was going, and he didn't have friends in the end. So no, Jay Johnson's not going anywhere. In reference to Kim Mulkey, I don't know. I have no knowledge whatsoever about what Kim Mulkey is thinking here. I know she didn't go to the press conference yesterday. She doesn't like going to any press conferences. I know her and Scott were close, and Scott loved her, and she loved Scott, and I get it. But listen, man, with all due respect to Kim, I heard Kim was trying to make moves behind the scenes herself. Does she want to get involved into becoming the next athletic director herself? I don't know. But I don't think she's as hurt as maybe she's leading on to here. Crawfish Man with a $5 super chat says, why is a sports reporter at a governor's press conference on Wednesday? Yeah, because he legitimately came out there and said things in reference to, and there were let's back up. On Monday, there were reports that came out in reference to the governor holding a meeting in the governor's mansion with the board of supervisors. Governor Landry goes on Pat McAfee and confirms that a meeting went down. Okay? So Glenn Guilbeau goes there and says, hey, there's a report going out there that you got involved. What do you want him to do? By the way, Jeff Landry said that, there's only one sports reporter. There should be a whole row of you. He wanted this out there. Good. Look, people don't like Glenn Guilbeau for whatever reason. It is what it is. But here's the truth. Good on Glenn. I mean, guys, there's a massive report out there that he's meddling and that he's trying to get Scott Woodward fired. What did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? Especially with the history of Landry has to sticking his nose in LSU. Oh, Crawfish Man. He had already stuck his nose in this well before Glenn Guilbeau had brought anything up. Here, I got to go on a mini rant here before we kind of move on and talk about Scott Woodward. Guys, I have seen a lot of you in my mentions, in my comments, in my DMs, whatever, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it doesn't matter. You're blaming the media. You're blaming the local media for quote unquote making this bigger than what it is. Are you kidding me? The athletic director just got fired. They parted ways. Let me retract what I just said. They parted ways. Guys, he got fired. I mean, let's just call it what it is. In the grand scheme of things, he was going to get fired. And you don't want the local media who covers LSU to cover this? Are you stupid? Not you, Crawfish Man. Not you. That's not what I'm saying. Crawfish Man, I'm not calling you stupid. But I've responded to a couple of you. Guys, we don't have a sitting head coach. We have a governor, yet again, intervening himself into athletics. And not just any athletics. One school's athletics. Whether it is the women's basketball national anthem incident, whether it's players need to have scholarships taken, whether it's Brian Kelly needs all of his NIL money taken away from him for recruits if they don't go out there for the national anthem, whether it's Omar the Tiger, whether it's William Tate, which I don't know if I can put William Tate really all in athletics, but he, it was a big part of it, even if you don't want to use William Tate, but he's interjecting himself into LSU. So then William Tate is out. Brian Kelly, Scott Woodward. Like, guys, this has been going on. Now, a year ago, literally, a year ago, when LSU played Alabama, I came out here and people were yelling at me from the rafters, me saying that having a fat cat, orange Garfield-looking cat on the sidelines is dumb. It is dumb. Okay? And Jeff Landry, Governor Jeff Landry, doing that is something he shouldn't intervene in. Why intervene in that? And y'all yelled, "Oh, Blake, you're just overreacting," like a lot of you have done this week, saying, "Blake, you're overreacting to all of this." Guys, he's constantly interjected himself into LSU athletics. And when I told you literally a year ago, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get Brandon to go and clip exactly what I said a year ago, and I'm posting it on social media. Literally a year ago, I said if he will put a Tiger on the sidelines and he will do what he's doing, when it comes to nut cutting time, what do you think he'll do? Those were my exact words, and look what's going on. I mean, with all due respect, guys, there's no way y'all couldn't see this. If you're in this every day, like I am, 24/7, there's no way you didn't see it. No way you didn't see it coming. Flight became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Flight. I greatly, humbly appreciate it. A. McNabb with a $2 super chat says, "Did you see we are getting a president on Tuesday?" I did. And hopefully that will start calming some things down. Do y'all hear this? That's constantly my phone. Constantly. It doesn't stop ringing. All right. But we will. And I do think it's going to be Rouse, the the president from McNeese, and we're going to give you candidates. I mean, I broke the story yesterday about the candidates that are going to be on the top of the list here, and we'll walk through that too. But I do think that he is going to get clearly a lot of say in this, but I do think that the governor's already manipulating the situation behind closed doors. I do think he would want to bring Schroyer with him. I don't know if it's going to be completely his decision on who the ultimate man is. Schroyer may come with him. I don't know if it's going to be the top athletic director position. I don't know that. We'll see. Jason became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Jason. I greatly appreciate that. Glad to have you aboard with us. Greg with a $5 super chat says, "Landry's been coming after Woodward's head for a very long time. He's just using the contract as an excuse." 1,000%. 1,000%. 1,000%. There's no other way to put it than that. Greg is 1,000% true here. And good on him. That's how you play politics. All right. Every episode of AYS Sports is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. We are humbly powered and partnered by our good friends over at FanDuel for this entire football season, and glad that they have joined us here. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, Scott Woodward out. What does it all mean? Who do I think is going to be some candidates for the replacement here? We'll talk about the press conference that happened today. We'll walk through it all, and then we'll field some questions from you. Who's the next head coach going to be? Who do we even remotely know? We'll talk about that all next. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler. He'll shoot you straight.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick.
We're back.
All right, let's get moving here. Lots and lots that we need to get to. So last night, hold on one second. There we go. So last night, it was announced that Scott Woodward and LSU have parted ways. He will no longer be your athletics director at LSU. Scott was here for 6 seasons, and in that time that he was here, 7 national titles were won in his tutelage. Not all of them were because of him, but they did. The 2019 LSU football team, the 2021 men's track team, the 2023 women's basketball team, the 2023 and 2025 men's baseball team, the 2024 dance team, and the 2025 gymnastics team all won national titles as Scott Woodward as your athletic director. Over the last week, this has politically become a dumpster fire for Scott Woodward. After the Texas A&M game, we all know that what happened. We all know that there were situations involving Brian Kelly, Scott Woodward, who all knows the intricate details of what ultimately happened. I think everybody's trying to fight over the semantics of, oh, well, this guy was trying to argue with this guy, and that guy was trying to argue with that guy, and Scott Woodward got mad, and this guy got that guy fired, and who cares? Brian Kelly got fired on Sunday, and allegedly, per reports, Scott Woodward either did or did not make the firing without the Board of Supervisors' knowledge, which got everybody involved in this. Here's what it seems like to me. What it seems like to me was Scott Woodward wanted to move on from people inside that building and meddled like he always does. When Brian Kelly pushed back, he got mad and said, well, then you're gone, without any approval whatsoever from Board of Supervisors or anybody. Board and supervisor members got involved. Then the governor got involved, and they go, well, fire him, but Scott's going with him. Scott did not play this politically right. When the new Board of Supervisors came into all of this, they were not aligned with him politically. He was not aligned with them politically. That is just the truth. He is not aligned politically with the governor. And regardless of all and how all of the politics played out in this, regardless if you want to make fun of what Jeff Landry's saying about the BCS, whether you want to make fun of him about how he understands the contract, none of that matters at the current moment about what we're speaking about. The bottom line truth is politically, they did not see eye to eye, and Jeff Landry ultimately did not want him in there. We are all adults. We all know what happened here, and Scott Woodward is out. But the bottom line truth is that we need to ask the question of, as sports people, is it the right move? Should Scott Woodward have stayed on as athletic director? Now, there are 2 schools of thought on this. There were 7 national titles that were won in Scott Woodward's tutelage. 2019 has nothing to do with him. I will be a little bit blunt on this. 2023 and 2025 men's baseball really doesn't have much to do with him. Did he sign off on the hire when Stephanie Rempe made it? Yes. And sure, go right on ahead and give it to him if you want to. But the ultimate truth was, in the demise of Scott Woodward, is very simple. He meddled way too much into football. Let's move the tape back to 2020 and 2021 for just a moment. After the national title, when Scott Woodward extended Ed Orgeron after completing and doing and making the best college football team of all time, there are reports there were rumors that always came out that Scott Woodward limited who and what Ed Orgeron could and couldn't do. There were always rumors of Scott Woodward being involved in every single little thing that Ed Orgeron did. And behind closed doors, he meddled with him and did things that would not give Ed Orgeron success to be able to get him out of the door because he did not like Ed. Now, Scott Woodward did not have to do much because as soon as Ed and the whole COVID situation, telling players they can't go and do a march and that they needed to get their asses to practice, Jamar Chase walking out, all of that stuff was fully on Ed. Ed getting in trouble in reference to, the whole marriage thing, and then the situation with the blonde and who I know personally. All of that, okay, is on Ed Orgeron's doing. But the bottom line truth of the matter was Scott Woodward 1,000% meddled in things that Ed Orgeron wanted to do. That's not really a decision. I have heard that for years, that he did it with Ed, and no one really talked about it because of how bad things went. Fast forward to Brian Kelly. You hire Brian Kelly, and he wins the SEC West in year one. Having inherited 30 scholarship players, Brian Kelly was a fit in 2022 because, hey, man, this guy instantly came in here and had to rebuild it, and he beat Alabama to win the SEC West. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me that he won the West in year one? But you fast forward to 2023, and defensively things go awry. Things go haywire. And after that season, Scott Woodward started meddling again on who he could and couldn't hire, who he did and did need to fire. And I don't know if Brian Kelly necessarily liked those things happening. Because the truth of the matter is I got a hair in my eye that is bugging the shit out of me. The truth of the matter is Blake Baker is not and was not a Brian Kelly hire, nor do I think that Brian Kelly was given the autonomy to be able to hire who he wanted as his next DC. Now, here's what I'm going to say about Brian Kelly that none of you want to hear. He hired Mike Elko, he hired Clark Lee, and he hired Matt House. Two of those guys are head coaches in college football, and one of them just walked off in here and beat your ass, and then the other one, you went on the road, and then they beat you too. Brian Kelly was given full autonomy at Notre Dame. Sure, the Matt House thing did not work, but you got to be realistic on something in the 2023 season. Guys, you overachieved in 2022, and that's not even an if. You overachieved. Should you have been better in 2023? Without a doubt. Should it have been that bad defensively? Without a doubt, no, it should not have been. But I understand having to try to rebuild something that, quite frankly, was going awry. Because Brian Kelly in the first 3 seasons won 29 games. I get it. It's not the standard here. It literally is championship or bust. Scott Woodward meddled way too much. As I told you on Monday, as I told you on Tuesday, as I told you on Wednesday, as I told you on Thursday, and I'll tell you again today, he also meddled in recruiting. He meddled in recruiting in reference to when it became to NIL. This is 1,000% factual. When it came to NIL in the beginning of all of this, and Brian Kelly wanted to go get a player, they told him no. They told him no. We are not spending that amount of money on a player. We're not doing it. Only for them to have to come around years later, and Brian Kelly would have to go to the podium, as Brian Kelly would then ultimately win the argument about it's a personnel issue that we have right now. You know why that ultimately happened? Because Blake Baker came here in 2024 as the DC, and the defense sucked. Hey, Scott, you hired Blake Baker as the defensive coordinator here, didn't you? Yeah. Why did it suck? Oh, it wasn't the coordinator. It was the personnel, like I told you so many years ago. So then all of a sudden, Austin Thomas is hired, money is raised, fundraising occurs. Brian Kelly gives $1 million of his own money to go out there in a match to get personnel. Funny how that changed, right? Funny how that changed. Scott meddled way too much. Scott meddled way too much. So regardless if you want to point to the Ed situation and say, oh, well, this guy behind the scenes messed with Ed. Ed messed with Ed too. Ed messed with Ed too. Ed got reckless. He did some reckless things. Photos started being leaked. Guys, he didn't care. When he got meddled with and Scott started meddling with him, he stopped caring. I asked the question, did the same thing happen with Brian Kelly? So you can look at the national championships. You can look at all of the success, whether it be women's basketball, men's baseball, whatever. We can look at all of this and say those were great hires, because they were. Even if he signed off on them, they were great hires. I'm with you here without a doubt. He deserves tons and tons of credit. But where do you currently sit? You have a former sitting AD that meddled in football way too much. You have a $53 million buyout that you had to pay Brian Kelly because all of this craziness happened behind the scenes. Whether it's the governor, whether it's Scott, whoever did it, it occurred under his watch because he kept meddling. That is not an opinion. It is a fact that he was meddling behind the scenes. It's now being reported that he definitely did it to Ed. And let me guarantee you something for a fact that's going to come out here very soon. What's going to come out here very soon is he also did it in the hiring of Blake Baker, Corey Raymond, and others. It's going to come out. So you heard it here first. The bottom line is what the undoing of Scott Woodward was two things. Three things. The $53 million buyout because you hired a coach, you meddled too much, and you both got fired for it. You politically aligned yourself with people you shouldn't have politically aligned yourself with, and you got fired for it. And the governor did not like you because of it, and you got fired for it. Now, I know they both mutually decided to part ways. Guys, this was inevitable. You were pushed out because of it. So there's going to be a lot of people that cover this team and cover this program that are going to cover up for Scott. And I understand why they're going to do it. I don't think he was a bad AD, nor do I necessarily fully believe that I think that he should have been let go or pushed out. I'm not really there, right? Like, I get it. He failed in football. Technically, if you want to say from just hires alone, he technically failed twice. He wasn't a part of the extension for Jimbo Fisher, but he surely gave a 10-year, $95 million deal to Brian Kelly that did not work out. But here's the truth. Your governor is involved in all of this. Let's use the words that he said. Governor Jeff Landry was asked in reference to who is going to make the next hire. Is Scott Woodward going to make the next college football hire? He said no, tongue-in-cheek, did Governor Landry. I would let POTUS, I would let President Trump pick the next head coach before I would let Scott Woodward. Let me re-say that because there's two I's in there. I would let President Trump before I would let Scott Woodward, who ultimately has the power in decision-making to do that. He is not saying that if he's not involved. When asked multiple times, he said it's going to be the Board of Supervisors. We'll get to Verge Alsbury in just a moment. They are controlling this. Guys, they are utilizing this. They are using this. They're using all of this for a complete regime change. Complete regime change. So when you have a sitting governor who's at the podium saying, I would let President Trump decide before I allow Scott Woodward to make this decision. And then both of them are Scott is fired and Brian Kelly's out the door. Where do you think the Board of Supervisors came up with all this? Did the Board of Supervisors make the decision? Well, he surely didn't say that, and neither did Scott Ballard, the chairman of the board today, on how things went down. Here's something that should have been asked. In that press conference today, what should have been asked, who fired Brian Kelly? Who fired Brian Kelly? That should have been asked in that press conference today. It wasn't. Now, would they have said it was a mutual decision between all of us? Well, who's all of us? Then there needs to be a follow-up. Who was all in that meeting? Who mutually agreed to all of it? We didn't get that. I don't know if I would have pulled the plug on Scott. He would still go big well hunting. And he might be able to get you your next head coach in here because he's still landed on Chris Peterson. But if you're asking me, the situation with Ed Orgeron, the situation with Brian Kelly, and a $53 million buyout is well more than justification. I don't want to hear that they overreacted to firing Brian Kelly. You know, there are rumors out there that Brian Kelly was going to take off the next 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, going into the bye week, and he wasn't even going to be in the state. I can't confirm or deny that rumor. It's a rumor nonetheless. A rumor nonetheless. But when you do someone dirty, like when you do Ed Orgeron dirty, bad things might happen to you. Karma will come back if you're not careful. You know, when your grandmammy used to tell you, treat others like you would want to be treated, maybe that should have happened instead of all the meddling that went on behind closed doors. There will be a lot of people who will defend what happened. Guys, if you don't believe me, read some of the reports too. Now, today, Verge Alsbury was announced as the interim athletic director. And I want to get to something here. Do I believe that Verge Alsbury is going to have influence utilizing his connections on where the next head coach and who the next head coach is going to be? Yes. Guys, you're going to come in here and argue me on this, but let's break this down. You mean to tell me that a governor who did not like Brian Kelly, who did not like Scott Woodward, who's now replacing people that he wants as the chairmans of the board members, that he's not going to have a say? I'm sorry, guys. He can say all he wants. I'm not picking the next head coach. If you think that he and his people are not going to be involved in what's going down and ultimately they make the decision, you're wrong. Do I think Verge is going to do a lot of the legwork here? Yes. Verge Alsbury is not hiring your next head football coach. Because when he's got to go to the Board of Supervisors and say, hey, this is who we want to hire, this is the contract that we agreed to, do you think that the chairman of the board, do you think the board members, and do you think Governor Landry is not going to either see it and approve it before it all goes down. Because that's how it's got to go. That is how it's got to go here. So you have a sitting governor who on Tuesday is going to get a president, which it was announced today that the president will have input in how this goes. Guys, where do you think the president is, this new president, Wade Rouse from McNeese State, who do you think that he's aligned with? Who makes that decision? Oh, well, it's the Board of Supervisors. Guys, start getting real with yourself. Be real with yourself. I don't think people, Verge can't do a good job here and do what he needs to be done. Everybody going out there writing articles, everybody going out there saying, we finally have the understanding of who the next person who's going to make this hire is. You don't understand Louisiana then. You don't understand it. This week should have been for people who aren't from here and people who are from here. Either two things should have happened. Number one, if you're not from here and you cover this team, you should have massively seen what Louisiana is all about as this week unfolded. Number two, if you're from here, you know what I'm saying is truthful. He's about to get a president. He's got board of supervisors in there, which other board of supervisor members fall off in December, which he gets to appoint, by the way. Oh, guess we forgot about all that. There will be board of supervisor members that will not be retained after this, and he gets to appoint them. Verge Alsbury can do all the legwork all the live long day. This committee with Bordelon, who's on the committee, Verge Alsbury and others, they can be on a committee all the live long day. It ain't gonna matter. They're gonna do all the legwork, and when it comes down to nut cutting time, you know who's going to have the ultimate decision here. Stop kidding yourself. Stop kidding yourself. I don't like, so to wrap this all part up in a bow, number one, I don't like that Scott Woodward meddled the way that he did. I don't like that he cut Ed Orgeron's legs out from under him, whether you like or love Ed Orgeron. I don't like that. I don't like that he cut the legs out from Brian Kelly on some of the hires and decisions he wanted to make. Brian Kelly's got more experience in this than you ever will. Just because you were an assistant AD, assistant to the AD when Nick Saban was here doesn't mean you know how the boudin's made. Does not mean that. Because he had to pay some piper and was going to pay some piper for what he did behind closed doors. That is the truth. I think Verge Alsbury, for what it's worth, and we could talk a little bit about this press conference before we get to who I think is going to be some candidates for the AD job here. I think Verge loves this place. I personally don't mind. So let me back up. What you just heard me say was to some of you, oh, Blake doesn't like Verge Alsbury. He doesn't, for whatever reason. That's not what I'm saying. I love Verge Alsbury. I think Verge, if given the actual full autonomy here, we're given the full reins to hire the next head football coach of LSU, he will kill it. Let me repeat what I just said, because there's going to be some Rudy Poos in here who hear something completely different to what I just said. I really trust Verge Alsbury, and I think he's got LSU's best interest in mind. I do. I think that guys like Marcus Freeman, now listen. I think they now listen. I think Verge will do and would do an absolutely fantastic job. He loves this place. But we got to start talking about the reality of this. He will do all of the legwork. And when it comes down to nut cutting time, are they going to cut his legs out from under him? Are they going to allow him to make the hire? And a guy who this feels like a coup to me in some ways, right? Like it feels like you mean to tell me that Jeff Landry said Scott Woodward ain't making this hire. Well, then who? He says he's not making the next head coaching hire. You went out there and cut the legs out from an AD. I promise you this, Scott Woodward will not make the next hire. So how are you going to convince me now that you don't have any say in this whatsoever about what's going on? Guys, grow up. Let's call it like we see it. This is how I see it going down. There's going to be a committee formed for the new AD. We'll get to that in just a minute. They are using this committee that's going to be led by Verge because of his connections to go talk and vet candidates. They're going to form another committee for the athletic director, which when that starts coming out, we'll talk about that. I think Verge is going to be able to give LSU the best chance here to get the top candidates. The problem is I don't trust anybody. Let me back up. I don't trust that when it comes down to nut cutting time that we make the right decision here. Because I don't know if money doesn't get involved on how they want these contracts to be structured. That is a massive fear for me. Now, last but not least, let's get to this. Let me get a rally pillow in before I go in on this, because it is what it is. Governor Jeff Landry came out here this week and said that he is worried about the financial implications of Brian Kelly's contract and how the buyout goes. And he technically said taxpayers would have to be involved here. Now, Scott Ballard, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, said that's not the case. This is going to be privately raised, and we're going to do this. The taxpayers are not going to be responsible for this. We all knew that. But the governor has been very vocal and about the financial issues and the contracts that Brian Kelly got. Now you fired Scott Woodward, who has a $6.85 million buyout. The total buyout right now, if everything remains the same, well, 53 plus, let's just call it 7 for Scott Woodward. $60 million in buyout money for LSU right now. $60 million. So we're so worried about money at the current moment that we're going to fire a guy who's got a buyout of $7 million. Now, did they negotiate this behind closed doors? Did they negotiate it behind closed doors and Scott Woodward takes less? I don't know. But his contract said that he's owed $7 million. $60 million. On Monday, when you and I discussed, when Brian Kelly was fired, we talked about his $53 million buyout. We talked about Scott Woodward and his buyout and getting you to $16 million. Let's hypothetically say that Lane Kiffin wants to come to LSU and his buyout's $6 to $8 million. Then you got to fire the entire staff that's on staff right now, or majority of the staff gets fired at LSU. Guys, this is a regime change that's going to get well north and around $75 million. But we're worried about money. Let's ease some tensions here. There are billionaires that love LSU. Billionaires. I don't think the money's going to be the problem at all. By the way, you technically still have Ed Orgeron's buyout that's over in December, but that's neither here nor there. This is going to be a $75+ million venture, because not only do you have to have buyouts for coaches and staffs for your current staff, firing an AD, you got to go buy out a new head coach. You got to go buy out new staff. By the way, in the meantime of all of this, you got to raise money for NIL. You got to pay $22.5 million in TV revenue money for next year for athletics. Don't talk to me about money. If you were really worried about the taxpayer, you wouldn't have fired Brian Kelly and put him on the hook for it. So when Governor Landry runs out there and says, oh, well, I'm worried about the taxpayer in this. Well, then why'd you fire the man? Why would you fire somebody to put the taxpayer on the bill for that if that's the case? Well, we don't want a bad product. Well, I also, if it's true that I, the taxpayer, would have to pay it, then clearly I wouldn't want the man fired because I don't want to be reliable or responsible. You're not going to be as the Louisiana taxpayer. We all know that to be true. The last 4 days have all been utilized and stated to fire Scott Woodward. If you can't see what's been going on by now, then you're not from Louisiana. You're not. The matter of the fact is that all of this has been going down publicly so they can humiliate Scott Woodward and William Tate. Now, William Tate's not taking the backlash, but I do think it's very funny that yesterday the governor of Louisiana posted a picture of the signatures between William Tate and Brian Kelly. That was a shot at William Tate. He didn't have to post that. By the way, I've asked multiple attorneys about this. Multiple. And I have asked multiple just to get multiples of opinions. Guys, the way that the Brian Kelly's contract works or is worded, by the way, is Jeff Landry technically right about if for Brian Kelly's contract that the state of Louisiana may have to get involved, but yes, they would. But a lot of bad things would have to happen. The athletics department would have to go bankrupt. They're not. LSU would, through private donations as a university, aka endowment, would also have to go bankrupt. They're not. They have a $1.2 billion endowment before it goes to the taxpayer. The state of Louisiana is the guarantor of Brian Kelly's buyout, of everybody's buyout. But you have to go through 3 layers. You have to go through the athletics department that's not broke. The endowment of Louisiana State University, based off of attorneys that I talked to, that LSU as a university would be in charge of, then it would go to the taxpayer. It's not happening. It can't happen. So let me give you an idea. If the people of the great state of Louisiana had to start fitting the bill for Brian Kelly's buyout, you could technically sue LSU because they have the money to fire Brian Kelly as a university and win. Not happening. Not happening. But let me tell you something else too. When a coup happens, there's always a plan on the other side of that coup. And I think that they're already making those moves. Actually, I don't think. They already have been making those moves days in advance. I was told by multiple people that when I broke the news last night about the candidates, Scott Woodward was given a call by some of the people that potentially was getting talked to. He knew. And he wanted nothing to do with it. I will say this before we get to a break. This has been the longest week of my life from AYS standpoint. I thought I was going to be able to chill this week. I actually thought Saturday night after the game, I was like, well, man, maybe I could just do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday show and spend the Halloween day and weekend with my children. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Here we are. I don't like getting this political. I don't. I legitimately don't. But there was a plan that was already in the works from Board of Supervisors, the governor, the new president. All of this has been laid out the way that they wanted it. It was a coup. If you're asking me my opinion, I think it's a coup. Now, you can call me the LSU media Alex Jones, but it's playing out in front of our faces. So we'll see. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, we'll field a lot of your super chats. I'll give you some I'll break down what we talked about or what I reported last night on some of these candidates. We'll walk through a couple of them. We'll get to all of that. Let me get to a break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Hey, Southwest Louisiana. Are you ready to gear up for your next outdoor adventure or tackle that next big job on the farm? Then head on over to Henderson Tractors, Boats, and Power Sports. At Henderson and Lake Charles, they've got everything you need under one massive 30,000 square foot indoor showroom. Kubota tractors and mowers to power through the toughest tasks. Polaris off-road bikes and side-by-sides to conquer any trail. And tracker boats with brands like Ranger, Nitro, Sun Tracker, and Regency pontoons for a day out on the water. Whether you're a farmer or a hunter or just someone who loves the great outdoors, Henderson has what you need to get the job done and have fun while doing it. Browse their new and used inventory over at their website, hendersonimplement.com. That's hendersonimplement.com. Or give them a call today at 337-436-4366. That's 337-436-4366. Or go see them over in Lake Charles on the corner of East McNee Street and Highway 14. Remember, if you need a tractor, go to Henderson. Need a boat, go to Henderson. Or if you need an ATV or side-by-side, you know where to go. Henderson. Just let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. We're back. I'm scared to check my texts and DMs every time that I turn my phone on. So last night I reported this, and I'm glad that people that are in the local media who always talk shit about people don't, credit, but it doesn't matter. None of that really matters. It is what it is. Scott Woodward's out. Who could be the next athletic director of LSU? Let's talk about it. Josh Brooks, the AD at Georgia. So Josh is a Hammond, Louisiana guy, deep and strong ties to the great state of Louisiana. I think Josh has done a great job in his current profession, moving his way all the way up from being on the lowest part of the totem pole, getting all the way up to athletic director. I will tell you this, from someone who has been in the general area of Hammond, Louisiana, Josh Brooks would be a slam dunk. Josh has done a really good job at working with Kirby on a lot of things that have gone on behind the scenes. He has not interfered. He has let clearly the best head coach in college football do whatever he wants, and he's been there as a resource. From multiple sources that I've talked to about the connection between Kirby and Josh Brooks, it is a very strong one, and they have a really good alignment. Whatever Kirby needs, Josh does whatever he thinks possibly that he can do to go out there and get it for him. I do not know if he will come here. His wife, Lily, is also from Hammond, Louisiana, and there is a lot of connections that a lot of people in Hammond want them home. And I am not guessing on that. I do think that they will entertain the idea. I do not know if he will be your next athletic director. I would assume that he is going to entertain this until the very end because it's home. I think that the autonomy that he would be given here versus what he's given at Georgia is a big eye-opener for him. I do not believe that the next head coach will, how do I want to say this? They will know where LSU is leaning from an athletic standpoint, the athletic director standpoint, and I think Josh would be open to working with anybody and being the ultimate resource. He has done an elite job, not a great job, has Josh Brooks, an elite job at splitting up TV revenue the way that he sees it to benefit the best sports at Georgia, and clearly we know how that's working out right now. He also went and got Wes Johnson. How's Georgia baseball turned around for him? He would be a viable resource, especially when it comes to fundraising. And I'm not guessing. The North Shore has a lot of money, and people don't realize that, nor do they ever want to talk about it. Every bit of that North Shore money would come here if he's hired. So we'll see. Mike Alford, the Florida State AD. I think that one's a long shot, to be honest with you. His name has come up a lot in conversations that I've had. I do think Mike Alford wants out of Florida State because he has tried to pull the plug not once but twice on Mike Norvell, who he did not hire, and they will not allow him to do it. Mike Alford is in a catch-22. They do not give him, and the president of Florida State and the board of supervisors there do not give him any autonomy to do anything. He has done a really good job at helping them raise funds and money. I think he wants out. I think that he will push for this very hard because he wants nothing to do with what's going on with Mike Norvell at the current moment. I understand that, and I get that. I think right now, as it sits, it would be a long shot. However, I do believe that things could easily change if he persuades people, but his name is also someone that you need to watch out for. JRTs, the Southeastern Louisiana AD. You got to understand something. When I reported this, I'm not thinking. JRTs is also going to be in this involvement. I had a lot of people from Hammond last night text me and say there's no way. Well, you better wake up, Peter Pan, because I know for a fact that there's a way. JRTs has a lot of people that are currently in part of running things around LSU, and a lot of people in the governor's office that love him dearly. The governor was in Tangipahoa yesterday. He was making his rounds yesterday, and I'll let you put two and two together. JRTs will be definitely getting an interview from what I understand and from my conversations with people. He's going to be talked to about this opening for athletics director. I do think that the president and the governor will have decisions on those three, but those are three candidates that are going to be atop the list here when it comes to how they both mutually see things. JRTs has done a really good job with all of sports. Look, they have gotten gutted. They work at a two to three, sometimes a $4 million deficit a year. They don't have the finances. They have done a very good job at maintaining based off of what they've had. I do think that JRTs would dominate some things from a baseball aspect of things. And there are a lot of football coaches that love JRTs because he's one of them. I also believe that there are a lot of local ties that would persuade things in JRT's way from a coaching standpoint that have the ear of the governor. So that is another name that you need to watch out for. And by the way, Scott Ballard is your chairman of the Board of Supervisors, and I'll leave it there. Verge Alsbury. Listen, I think Verge is going to get a chance here. I just don't know with the president that will be coming in on Tuesday and the Board of Supervisors, unless Verge just completely knocks this one out of the park, which he could. He 1,000% could. I don't think Verge will be a realistic candidate for this unless he goes and gets a top-name head coach, if I'm being honest, and he delivers. And then the powers that be say, damn, Verge really landed this and did a great job doing it. I don't think that Verge is going to be a realistic candidate. Do I think he should? Probably. I do think that some of the things in Verge's past may come back to bite him. You know, he was suspended for a year, couldn't be around LSU athletics and games and stuff like that. There are going to be people that throw that back in his face. I am not, but from what I understand, that is going to happen if it got down to it. They gave Verge the autonomy here to do all the legwork on this next head coaching hire, and we'll see. Heath Schroyer, the McNeese State athletic director. I would assume that his president is going to be announced on Tuesday as the next president of LSU. And there's been a lot of people who have speculated, would he bring his athletic director with him? He could. I know that he probably wants to. I don't think the governor wants that from some things that I hear. Do I think that between Brooks, JRTs, and Schroyer, that all three of them can be employed by LSU within the year? Yes. I think one could take over basketball, one could take over baseball, and one could take over football. I think that could potentially be where they're going here with Josh Brooks being the ultimate AD. Those are going to be the five guys that they look at the most. From the way that I understand this, on this part, I could be wrong. There's a 45-day window for people to apply, and then you got to go through interviews from a legal standpoint. I don't know how long this is going to take. I will tell you this because I also reported this last night, and I know this to be factual. The process is moving quickly. Doesn't mean that the hiring is moving quickly. They're already talking to people who they think should be the next athletic director. It's already occurred. Everybody knew Scott was out, and things behind the scenes were already being put in motion. Know it for a fact. So those would be the five. I don't think the new president, is going to get what he wants from the governor and the ultimate decision in this in reference to who he probably would want as AD. I think the governor would shut it down from the Board of Supervisors because there are going to be some people in December that go out, and he's going to have pretty much full control here on this. I do think if you ask me the order of things, in no specific order, but these would be the top three would be the three that I would think that would go down. Josh Brooks, JRT's Mike Alford, Schroyer being kind of an odd man out here, but definitely if the new president gets in, could definitely persuade some things, and he could get it as well. I just don't see Verge Alsbury being your active AD in a couple of months. So that's where we sit. All right. Let's get to some super chats here before we get out of here. Let's roll through it. Jason becomes a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Jason. I greatly appreciate it. Greg with a $5 super chat says, Landry's been coming after. Oh, we talked about that. I think. But you're correct. He has. Greg with a $10 super chat says, yeah, the dude was a huge meddler in football, no doubt, talking about Scott Woodward. But this can be all boiled down to you don't support my side politically, so you don't have the right to work in my state, full stop. Very well could. Very well. I mean, they didn't align politically, man. I mean, that is 100% the truth. And I think we all know that, and they're using this as an excuse. Now, Scott's got to take the blame for meddling behind the scenes, and Scott has got to take the blame for the $53 million buyout. I mean, that's on him, guys. That is on him. And there are a lot of times around the country that sitting ADs only get one coaching hire. This isn't Florida and Scott Strickland. It isn't. So I do think that you're right there. I do think that you're right there. Harry Wilson with a $20 super chat says, great job speaking facts. It's good folks get to hear the BS Woody did behind the scenes. Oh, 1,000%, Woody. Harry, 1,000%. 1,000% he was doing things behind the scenes. 1,000%. I mean, listen, with all due respect, look, here's what people don't want to hear. Did Brian Kelly let's talk about it. Did Brian Kelly do everything in his humanly power to do what needed to be done? No. It does not change the fact that he got meddled with. Doesn't change that fact. It doesn't change it. But I mean, guys, the truth of the matter was he extended Ed and you had to fire him. That's a buyout that's not done with yet. He hired Brian Kelly, and that buyout's massive. He's got another coach that he hired that ultimately had a massive buyout. Now, he didn't extend him, but because quite frankly, he meddled in way too much shit. And that's just the truth. Dub 1970 became a member on the YouTube channel. He also sent in a $20 super chat. Dub, I don't maybe you sent in a super chat here. I know you sent in a super chat. I don't see a comment from you though. Maybe you're just sending it saying, hey, we love you. But I don't see a comment from you. But thank you so much either way. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. I'm checking to make sure you didn't say anything. No Brandon with me today, by the way. He had a whatever you call it at school. All right, I don't see it. But thank you, Dub, for the $20 super chat. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for becoming a member. I greatly appreciate it. Steve Bean with a $5 super chat says, normal process is hire president, then he hires the AD. That way, the next new hire, coach feels comfortable with drop the office. So Scott Ballard today in the press conference stated that they're going to get a new head coach and then get a new athletic director. He could have done a better job explaining that. Guys, there's processes to how this goes down. I don't know from a timetable standpoint. You can get a new AD in here before you get in a new head coach. I don't. So, we'll see. There's going to be a lot going on here. A lot of meddling's about to go on too. James Upchurch with a $5 super chat says, letting Scott go is the biggest mistake the governor haven't done. I believe us LSU fans better buckle up for a rough next few seasons. Letting Scott go is the biggest mistake governor, quote unquote, haven't done, or quote unquote hasn't done maybe. James, I disagree with some of that. It's not the biggest mistake that he's done. Not in this. Letting Scott Woodward go is not the biggest mistake, because the truth of the matter is he did meddle. Like, if we're just being honest, I mean, like, it's not – here's the truth. I don't really blame the governor for wanting to move on. If you have the finances, which he said, oh, the state of Louisiana, look at all these finances, all of that. Now, do I agree that with the political side of things? No, but there's got to be ramifications to meddling with Ed, meddling with BK, and some of the contract stuff. And look, let's get into this too. The governor did meddle himself and wanted Will Wade back as the next men's basketball coach. And I'm sure if Matt McMahon doesn't have success this year, that they're going to want to pursue that yet again, and for Will Wade to come back. Maybe that happens. I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But there's been a lot of meddling from a lot of people. But it's not this biggest mistake. I mean, man, guys, listen. It took Scott way too long. Like, let's just say Scott did meddle and say Blake Baker needed to be here. Okay? I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. I love Blake Baker. I love him to death. I think it's a great hire, personally. However, when BK said I wanted to pay Colin Simmons or DK Moore or Williams, the DT, Scott wouldn't let it happen. I mean, listen. If you're a sitting head football coach of LSU and you go to your AD and say, I need this, and he says no, what do you want him to do? Newsflash. You got to have really good players to win. Colin Simmons, I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, was number 2 in the country in havoc rate. By the way, you ultimately paid a defensive end that's on your campus right now the same money that you needed to give Colin Simmons. That guy only had 1 year. Colin Simmons had 3. You get where I'm going with this? I mean, it's got Jakeem Stewart. Now, the Jakeem Stewart thing got a little bit out of hand, and I don't blame him on that one. But, guys, you got to pay players. It's just, I don't think it's his biggest mistake. Scott literally needs to, I mean, some of this, he's got to answer for some of this. The political side of things, I agree with you on. That's messed up. That's messed up. But, I mean, it's a political state that we live in, man. Shit. I'm here. What did y'all not hear last? What was the last thing y'all actually technically heard me say? The last 5 minutes? Well, fuck. Did y'all hear what I said about this? Before the endowment. All right. Steve Bean. In reference, can y'all all hear me now? This is some bullshit. I'm gonna blame the governor since everybody else is. I don't know where the last 5 minutes was, so somebody's gonna have to tell me. Is this the last thing that y'all heard? Was the Steve Bean comment? Yes or no? All right, this is it. All right. Steve Bean says normal process is to hire a president, then they hire the AD. All right. Well, I guess we're just going to start this all over again. Fuck. Thank you to Steven who texted me. You got to know when friends are. I don't read the chat like that. Or was it James Upchurch? I don't know when 5 minutes is. What super chat did you not hear? I think when I coughed is when it happened. It was James Upchurch. All right. This is some bullshit. All right. Well, I coughed and tried to mute my mic, and I guess I hit the wrong button. All right. Don't think it was the biggest mistake. He meddled too much. That's just the truth. All right. So we'll go to the next one. Let's start with this one. SWB says $10 super chat. Everything will be all right. Have some faith. I do have faith. Here's what I don't have faith in. What I don't have faith in is you got a lot of chaos. You're $60 million in the hole. It's going to be around $75 million total when this gets done, as we reported on Monday. It's a Baton Rouge media outlet said $100 million. It's not going to be $100 million. It's going to be around 75 because I do think some people are going to be retained on staff when you hire next head coach. When someone pulls off a coup, which I think it is, I'm not going to be confident in it. Can they knock it out of the park? Yes, they can knock it out of the park. Do I have faith that they will at the current moment based off of an incentive-laden deal, all this kind of stuff from a money financial standpoint that they've been saying that they're going to do? No, I don't. Like, for an example, if I'm Lane Kiffin and Florida offers me $75 million guaranteed and LSU offers me 20, what do you think I'm doing? What do you think that I'm doing? I'm just being honest with you, guys. Like, if somebody offers me $50 million, who do you think you kidnapped? Chelsea Clinton? 20 million in 20s, 10 millions in 10s. Do you want any fives with that? If you believe that any normal human being would turn down $50+ million guaranteed, I got beachfront property in Iowa for your ass, that they would do that. You're outside your box. You are outside of your box if you believe that. Now, there are some cocky sons of bitches that would come out here and say, well, I'm going to make the playoff anyway, like Lane, who would come out there and say, I'm going to make that level of money anyway. But you better make that incentive-laden deal. Better make it way up there. And Jimmy Sexton does not like the comments, I would assume. of what was said here. And if I'm not mistaken, like, for example, if Lane, correct, y'all in the chat, I'll read the chat now. Tell me if I'm wrong here. Florida ain't got no state income tax. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Chandler Protes explain the endowment piece to me. All right, let's explain the endowment piece. The way that I understand it is this. I talked to multiple attorneys on this. Let's walk through it. If the funds are not raised, which Scott Ballard today, the chairman of the board, said that look, we're going to raise the funds, we're going to buy out BK, whatever. If LSU Athletics went bankrupt, the way that I understand this, I am not an attorney. But the way that I understand it is this, is if LSU Athletics went bankrupt and LSU went bankrupt, then the taxpayer would be on the hook for this. Jeff Landry's not wrong in saying that. Where he's wrong is that you have a university that's got a $1.1 billion endowment. Well, Blake, that's for the school. No, it's not. Those are gifts. When the contract was signed by Brian Kelly, it was not signed by the athletic department in Brian Kelly. It was signed by the university in Brian Kelly. So in that, they would be on the hook. LSU's got $53 million that if they wanted to stroke the check today, they could do it. Don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted. Do they have to find funds? Yeah, they got to find funds. But endowment, from the way that I understand it, is gifts. Now, I did this part on research on my own, and you can go to Google and search this for yourself. Oh, Blake, they can't do that. Google AI from the bylaws of the Louisiana State University states that, yes, the endowment can be used for athletics. It's a quick Google search away. So, because those are gifts and that's how the endowment works, then yes. Sorry about sorry about the muted stuff. Who dat says you're muted, your mic muted, bro. Thank you, both of you. I'm sorry. I tried to cough and hit this. I hit this and it didn't work. So then when I hit this, it worked. And I forgot to unmute myself. Damn me. All right, a couple more here and then we'll get out of here. James sends $5, says, what I meant by my comment is the governor says he's not in it. Oh, buddy. Sure looks like he is. Yes. What coach going to put up with this? Here's the only other thing, James. Here's the counteract to that. I agree with you there. Why would they want to be a part of the circus? Because the governor's backed by it, and politically, he's going to want this guy to win. And I think that they're going to fund NIL to the highest regard. Here's the truth about Brian Kelly, too. Brian did not go out there and fundraise the way he needed to fundraise. He didn't meet with the donors like he needed to. He didn't. But every time he did, the way that I understand this, there were donors that would call Brian Kelly to like go have lunch with him and shit. And like Scott would want to tag along so that Brian Kelly didn't say anything that he didn't that hurt LSU or something. He wants to meet Brian Kelly. He's going to give him money. Brian Kelly could say, hey, I want to make love to your wife. And people would be like, all right, well, how much money you need? Come on, man. Dub 1970. What's up, man? Thank you for becoming a member. He says, sorry, Blake, I messed up, LOL. With everything going on, I just don't know what to say. Try coming on here for 2 hours every day and trying to explain it. But yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I don't know what to say either. This has been the longest bye week of my life. I thought I was actually going to be able to relax. But anyway, thank you for becoming a member. 1970. I greatly appreciate it. SW says, we are beating Bama next week. Lane Freeman are an undefeated 4-0. Frank will be our coach. Lane and Freeman are or an undefeated. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Lane Freeman or an undefeated Frank 4-0 will be our coach. I see what you're saying. I could see that. 2026, we are whooping ass and taking names. I don't know about that. You still going to have to go in the portal. I don't know about that. Here's the thing with Frank. Frank, to get the job, is going to have to go 4-0. The thing with Frank, here's the thing. Would I love Frank Wilson to be your head coach? I wouldn't mind it at all, to be blunt with you, because I think Frank understands this place more than anybody that you're going to bring in here. However, I just don't know if I see the governor letting that happen. So I could love it. I could say I love it. I could say it's best for LSU when it ultimately happens if they go 4-0. I don't know. Maybe the only way I see Jeff Landry doing that, or Governor Landry doing that, is if the public and the outcry from the state of Louisiana is to keep Frank on as the head coach. It's the only way that I could see it, man. But they've done an exceptional job in recruiting at the current moment, holding on to everybody. Major with a $5 super chat says, excited to be a part of the channel. Thank you, buddy. I'm glad you're a part of it as well. What would your hiring rubric checklist be? There's no objective standard. If there's no objective standard. Yeah, it'd go Lane, it would go Marcus Freeman, and it would go Eli Drinkwitz, probably. Because I think Dan Lanning's out of this. Those would probably be the three that I called first, and then I'd talk to Frank. Guys, if you're asking me my opinion, I'm going all in on Lane Kiffin. James Upchurch says, $5 super chat says, no matter what, we'll always support the Tigers without a doubt, and we'll always support you as AYS. Thank you so much, James. I greatly appreciate that, buddy. Glad I found your channel, and I'm glad you did too. Look, the good thing about this search is it's been great for business. It's been a long week, but great for business, and a lot of you have found it, become members, found our channel for the first time, and I'm glad that all of you are part of it. I really, really do mean that. And it's been a crazy week, but from a business side of things, it's been a great week. Greg with a $5 super chat says, as someone who lives in Texas, trust me, the no income tax thing has yet to play a major role in somebody coming to one of our teams in any sport. Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I thought it would play a massive factor. Did not know that. I thought it would, but okay. Makes sense, I guess. But that's interesting. Chandler with a $2 super chat says, if it comes down to Lane and Freeman, who you want? Lane Kiffin. Lane. Yeah, here's the thing with Lane for me, because I think you'll always be dominant on one side of the ball. I think that Lane, more than most, understands the state of Louisiana. He doesn't know it. He understands it. And with all the talent that you have in the state, I don't know how much he'd leave it. Like that local 3-star at your local high school, Lane will go and get. Here's the thing with Lane, too. If he's sitting – so this is what happened the last high school recruiting cycle. It happened with Judkins, too. There were multiple 3-star receivers last year, 2 years ago, and this year. Lane was sitting in the stands during spring football and pulled up in a Lambo. He understands this generation's athlete. And he has recruited and had an eye for below average, or I say below average talent, but for talent that from a star level is below average, that have gone there and whipped people's asses. Guys, think about this. Oklahoma's secondary has 3 former 5-stars on it, and they got that ass whooped by a D3 quarterback with Lane. What does he do here with that? Marcus Freeman would kill it here. He'd kill it. Because he also, players want to play for him, and he understands recruiting. And if you give either one of them the money, it would be a slam dunk. But you can't meddle either. Kimbo Spice became a member of the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Kimbo. I appreciate it. Yeah, Kimbo has, or somebody has a Discord or something like that. And Kimbo's been a big advocate for AYS. So thank you, Kimbo, and thank you for becoming a member. I'm going for the rest of the day to spend time with my children, and we're taking them trick-or-treating. If anything crazy goes on, I hope that it doesn't. We'll be here to talk about it. Until then, y'all have a great day. Peace.